Welcome back to Perspective Shift. I'm your host, Leroy Glover, and today we're diving deep into a powerful concept that separates good from great, average from exceptional. Here's the truth. Leaders, innovators, and high achievers all have one thing in common. They approach everything with a high level of interest and presence. Think about the people you admire most, whether in business, sports, or personal life. They don't just go through the motions. They're engaged, fully present, and locked in. Your benefits from today's episode. By adapting this mindset, you can elevate your focus, strengthen your relationships, and create bigger opportunities in your life. Here's what we'll cover today. Number one, how deep interest leads to mastery. Number two, why presence strengthens connections. And number three, how engagement creates success in any area of life. Let's get started. Number one, how deep interest leads to mastery. When someone is deeply interested in a subject or skill, they don't just scratch the surface, they dive deep. Here's an example. Kobe Bryant didn't just love basketball, he obsessed over it. He studied the game, refined every move, and outworked everyone. His commitment to mastery set him apart. A question you can ask yourself is, are you casually involved in your work, relationships, or personal growth? Or are you fully invested? Here's an action step you can take. Pick one skill, hobby, or goal that matters to you. Commit to learning about it at a deeper level this week. Number two, why presence strengthens connections. True presence is a superpower. It builds trust, strengthens relationships, and leaves a lasting impression. An example, have you ever had a conversation with someone who was half listening, nodding along, but clearly distracted? Compare that to someone who made eye contact, fully engaged, and hung on to every word. Who do you feel more connected to? Key takeaway, great leaders know that showing up fully makes all the difference. Here's an action step you can take. The next time you're in a conversation, whether at work, at home, or with a friend, put your phone away, make eye contact, and be fully engaged. Number three, how engagement creates success in any area of life. Success isn't about luck. It's about how engaged you are in what you do. Example, two people start the same job. One treats it just as a paycheck. The other asks questions, learns from mentors, and actively seeks growth. Who do you think gets promoted? Key takeaway, the more engaged you are, the greater your results. Whether in your career, health, or personal growth. Here's an action step you can take. Whatever you're doing today, work, a workout, a conversation, commit to doing it with intent. Our key takeaways today are, number one, deep interest leads to mastery. Number two, present strengthens relationships and trust. And three, full engagement creates success in any area of life. Here's a suggestion. This week, be intentional about where you place your focus. Show up fully, stay engaged, and watch how your results shift. Thank you for tuning in to Perspective Shift. If today's episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who needs to hear this message. I'll see you next time.
Ever scroll through your feed and wonder how much those picture-perfect lives online actually translate to real-world success?
It's like everyone's trying to sell something, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're talking about perceived success as social currency,
Okay.
using Leroy Glover's perspective shift episode as our guide.
I love that episode.
Yeah, so we'll unpack how our online image can shape real-life opportunities,
It really can.
and why understanding this is super relevant to everyone, not just influencers.
Right, because we're all kind of playing the game now, aren't we?
Exactly. So, ready to rethink how we view success in this digital age?
Absolutely. Let's dive in.
Okay, so first things first. Glover talks about this idea of social capital.
Yes.
Can you kind of break down what he means by that?
Well, he describes it as the intangible value that comes from your relationships, your reputation, your network, both online and offline.
Okay, so it's not just about how many followers you have.
No, not at all. It's
Yeah.
more nuanced than that.
Right. It's about the quality of those connections, the influence you have, the trust you've built.
Exactly. It's about what you can actually do with those connections.
Got it.
And I think what's really interesting is how social media platforms like, say, Instagram, Twitter, X, or LinkedIn have become these like central hubs for cultivating and showcasing your social capital.
Okay, that makes sense.
You know, they're like the new town squares where we go to connect with others, build our reputation, and present ourselves to the world.
But why is this whole idea of perceived success so important?
Well, think about it. We're bombarded with images of success every time we open our phones.
Right.
And as humans, we're naturally drawn to those stories. We want to know the secrets, the formulas, the shortcuts.
Like we're hardwired to seek out role models. Right.
Exactly.
If they can achieve it, maybe we can too.
And social media algorithms amplify this effect by prioritizing content that gets a lot of engagement.
Oh, interesting.
Likes, comments, shares, you know the drill.
So those picture-perfect posts that showcase success, whether real or carefully curated.
Exactly, they rise to the top.
So it's not just our natural inclination to admire success.
Right.
The platforms themselves are designed to push that content to the forefront.
Creating this feedback loop that reinforces the perception of success.
And that's where this idea of perceived success as currency comes in.
Yeah.
The more successful you appear online, the more opportunities might come your way.
It's like this implicit social contract, isn't it?
It's like your perceived success becomes a form of social proof.
Exactly.
Glover actually uses this great analogy in his video.
Oh, yeah.
He talks about how a strong online image can open doors to brand partnerships, collaborations, even career advancement.
Absolutely. It's like saying, look at all these people who believe in me, who support me, who see me as successful. You should too.
It's a powerful message in a world where we're constantly trying to cut through the noise and stand out from the crowd.
Right. And it's not just about personal gain either. Businesses, organizations, they're all using perceived success as a way to attract customers, investors, even talent.
So this concept really does touch every aspect of our lives.
In a way, yeah. It's woven into the fabric of the digital age.
It's fascinating and a little bit daunting at the same time. Right?
Definitely. And that's where things can get a little tricky.
Tricky how?
Well, because this whole idea of perceived success has this kind of like a double-edged sword quality to it.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
On one hand, cultivating a strong online image can definitely open doors, lead to opportunities, help you build your network, your brand.
We were just talking about that.
Right, exactly. But on the other hand, there's also this risk of getting so caught up in the game of perception that we lose sight of what truly matters.
Okay, so it's like we're trading authenticity for likes and followers.
Yeah, in a way. And that can be a slippery slope because the more we focus on projecting this image of perfection, the more pressure we feel to maintain that facade, even if it's not really reflecting our true selves or our true experiences.
It's like we're creating these highlight reels of our lives.
Exactly. And that can lead to comparison, envy, even anxiety.
Because we're constantly comparing ourselves to these curated versions of other people.
Right. And it's easy to forget that social media is just a snapshot, a highlight reel. It's not the whole picture.
It's like that saying, don't compare your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel.
Exactly. And I think that's so important to remember because when we start comparing ourselves to others, especially in the context of social media where everyone's putting their best foot forward, we're setting ourselves up for disappointment, for feeling inadequate.
So how do we break free from this comparison trap?
Yeah.
How do we stay grounded in reality when we're constantly bombarded with these images of perfection?
Well, I think the first step is awareness.
Okay.
Just recognizing that social media is a curated space, not a reflection of reality.
Right, it's like a stage where everyone's performing their best selves.
Exactly. And once we understand that, we can start to be more intentional about how we engage with it.
So instead of getting sucked into the comparison game, we can consciously choose who we follow, what content we consume, and how we present ourselves online.
Right. It's about curating our own digital experience to be more supportive, more inspiring, and less about chasing validation.
So it's not about abandoning social media altogether.
No, not necessarily.
It's about using it more mindfully.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance between leveraging the power of perceived success while also staying true to ourselves and our values.
Because ultimately, true success isn't about how many likes or followers you have.
Right.
It's about living a life that feels authentic and meaningful to you.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, so we talked about the power of perceived success. We've talked about the risks, but how do we actually navigate this whole thing in a healthy way?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
It is. How do we balance presenting a successful image while staying true to ourselves?
Well, I think Glover makes a really important point in his episode.
Okay.
He talks about the importance of defining success on your own terms.
Not just buying into what society or social media tells us is success.
Exactly. Because success means different things to different people.
Right. And it can evolve over time, too.
Absolutely.
So what might that look like, defining success on your own terms?
Well, it starts with really getting clear on your values.
Okay.
What matters most to you? What are your priorities? What kind of impact do you want to make on the world?
And then using those values as a compass to guide your decisions and actions.
Exactly, both online and offline.
So it's not just about hitting certain metrics or achieving certain milestones.
No, it's about living a life that feels aligned with your core beliefs and aspirations.
It's about feeling fulfilled and content, regardless of external validation.
And I think that's a much more sustainable and satisfying definition of success.
Because when you're chasing external validation, you're always going to be at the mercy of other people's opinions and expectations.
Right, and that can be exhausting and ultimately unfulfilling.
But when you're grounded in your own values, you have a much stronger sense of purpose and direction.
And that can translate into a more authentic and impactful online presence too.
Because you're not trying to be someone you're not, you're just sharing your unique perspective and talents with the world.
And people can sense that authenticity and they're drawn to it.
So it seems like the key to navigating this landscape of perceived success is to use it mindfully.
Exactly. It's about recognizing its power but not letting it control us.
It's about understanding that true success is multifaceted and goes far beyond likes and followers.
And remembering that our worth is inherent, not determined by how others perceive us online.
So to wrap up this deep dive into perceived success as social currency, I think the biggest lesson is that we have more control over our online experiences than we often realize.
We can choose to be mindful of the content we consume, intentional about the image we project, and selective about the opportunities we pursue.
We can use our platforms to connect with others, share our stories, and make a positive impact on the world.
And most importantly, we can define success on our own terms.
Thanks for joining us on this journey.